What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Batters. I'm back home. You know, gonna bang out a couple episodes, and our first one is with Texas Rangers organization member Liam Hicks. So take a second to introduce yourself. Tell us, how you got to where you are now.
So how's it going? Thanks for having me. My name's Liam Hicks. I'm from Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Originally, I went to JUCO in Missouri for 2 years at Mineral Area College. Then I went to Arkansas State for about a year and a half with COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and then got drafted in 2021 in the ninth round by the Texas Rangers, and been with them since.
Yeah. So, so I'll talk about just recently. You played in the Arizona Fall League, and you killed it there. Batted over 450, had a 1700 or a 1.07 OPS, and lit it up. 12 RBIs. You were an all-star there. You were player of the week. You were an organizational all-star last year, and you were great at Arkansas State. You won the Buster Posey Award. Also played many positions. What's that like being such a, valuable utility man, and also just to have those bat to ball skills where you could play anywhere and be plugged in and be effective? What's that like? Because not many people can play so many positions, especially now. A lot of people try and focus and hone in on, one specific skill. And I think something that I saw, at least looking at the spray charts and the stats, was that you can really do it all.
Well, I appreciate that. And yeah, I think it's really important. I think just how my college career went, uh, it was just like a need to find a spot to play. So I was willing to do anything to be able to play. So whatever the team needed, I'd work as hard as I could to fill in. And I think my bat was always a little bit ahead of my defense. So it was always kind of like
Mhm.
just be doing what I can to help the team and be in the lineup. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's carried me pretty far. So it's carried me far so far, and still got some a ways to go.
Yeah. But obviously, you're making huge progress, and you saw it also with the COVID year, and we'll get into that as well, because at Arkansas State, you broke out big time. And in that COVID draft, it was 2021. I think the draft was only 10 rounds at that point, which, or maybe was it 20?
In 2021, it was 20.
So it was 20 rounds. And even still, you know, it was different. The whole COVID draft kind of screwed everything up. A lot of players went back for another year to get in that draft the next year. And obviously, a ninth round pick, you came into the organization and you blew expectations out of the water. What's the plan this year? Obviously, as you move forward and you had that standout fall, going into spring training, do you have any goals and expectations for yourself for the upcoming year?
I don't really set any like specific goals that are kind of out of my control. I kind of just try and control what I can control.
Mhm.
So I always have the same mindset every off season is work as hard as I can,
Yeah.
kind of have the same routine every single day. So that's helped me up to now. I'm not gonna change that. I think it's a good plan, and uh, doing well so far with that. As far as expectations, like it's kind of hard to put
Yeah.
expectations on anything because baseball's just so crazy. Like uh, went into this year with no expectations, went to high A for a couple weeks, and then went up to double A because I had to fill in for some injuries, and then ended up staying there for the whole rest of the year.
Hmm.
So it's kind of anything can happen. I'll just be ready for when my time comes, or whatever they need me to do, I'll be ready.
Yeah. And something that I'll also touch on, just because of it's come to light recently, especially with the additions of Corey Seager and the development of Evan Carter and Marcus Simeon. The Rangers are a hitting factory. I mean, you've seen it all throughout time. You came even back 20 years ago, you had Pudge, and then you had Adrian Beltre, and you have all these, and Josh Hamilton, and all these great Texas hitters, and it's the same coaching, it's the same staff, it's something that they pride. what's some of the most valuable advice and lessons that you've learned from some of these players and staff that have been at Texas, have been with Texas and have molded some of these great hitters? Because I mean, I think I would say Corey Seager's probably the best hitter in the game right now. Evan Carter's probably the best young hitter in the game as well. Marcus Simeon's one of the best hitters. And like I said, they've always had some really, really dangerous hitters in the lineup that have great bat to ball skills, great discipline, great power. So, what's some of those lessons that you've received throughout the years that you've been with Texas so far?
Yeah, I mean, you said it. The hitting development's outstanding. We have a ton of really great coaches and coordinators that are there to help. And the one big thing I think that they do really well is they kind of let you be you.
Yeah.
You know, if things are going well and they want you to focus on what you're good at. So
Hmm.
if things are going well, they're not going to mess with you too much.
Yeah.
They'll obviously have suggestions here and there, and they've got good drills, and all have a ton of experience with high level hitters. So they got a lot of valuable knowledge. But the main thing is, yeah, they're gonna let you be you, do what you do well, and then try and help you out in the things that you need to improve on.
Yeah. So exactly what I had thought, and because something that I learned from just interviewing other players that they've kind of said was, when they're working on their hitting, they work on their swing. And when it's going well, you kind of leave it, you do your own thing, and it's a feel basis, obviously success as well, base it off of how well you've been hitting and how well you've been doing. But also the feel basis is something that I've heard, especially through some of the guys that I know throughout the league that, Texas, like you said, Texas prides itself on that. If you're doing well, if you're successful, keep doing what you're doing and keep that same approach. So something that I want to ask you about, just because it segues into this, and I was not able to get Wyatt Langford onto the show. I've tried for so long while he was at college, but you got to play with him for, I think it was only a week he was in Double A for, but something about these special players and the way they approach the game. What is it that makes these guys so special? Because I don't think anybody else can really tell us except for the guys that are in that locker room with them. Um, it doesn't just have to be Langford. Also, I know Carter was down there with you guys for part of the season, and there's a lot of other massive and amazing prospects and players that go through that system. What's it like being in that locker room with some of these huge difference makers and amazing ball players?
It's really cool. It's cool to be around those guys and pick their brains. I think one of the main things that makes Evan and Wyatt so good is they keep things really simple. Like if you talk to them about their approach and all that, they they just have a really simple approach. They're smart hitters, but they're also not thinking too much. They've got so much skill, and they're willing to just kind of use that skill and not go crazy into a mindset. At least from what I've heard from them,
Yeah.
they're kind of yeah, they're so skilled, and they just keep things simple, see ball, hit ball kind of thing.
And something that I'd like to build on that, just because you watch them play, and also just their discipline. How do they teach that? Because obviously you can't necessarily teach vision and discipline. It's something that comes over time, but the walk rates and the take rates, and even also just the chase rates in general, all the advanced metrics, the Texas Rangers are towards the top in all of that. What's the approach like for these guys analytically? Because I don't know. I mean, also I know they got guys for that specifically have those numbers and they crunch them, and obviously none of at least I can't understand it. I don't think many other guys can really understand how they do it exactly, but it's working. Do you have any insight as to how they get these insane numbers and then translate that to the game? Because the analytics and the advanced stats show that the Texas Rangers are at the top of almost every advanced hitting category.
The whole Rangers hitting development and hitting coaches throughout the minor leagues, as well as I'm sure the major leagues too. They do a really good job of putting together a game plan
Yeah.
and having scouting reports on all the pitchers we're going to face. So I know every hitter wants a different amount of information about each pitcher,
Hmm.
uh, but the Rangers do a really good job of having everything available for you.
Yeah.
So you have a good idea of how that pitcher is going to attack you,
Mhm.
what they're going to do to try and get you out, and then you can go from there.
Yeah. So that's awesome. And I think that more MLB teams are kind of starting to take that model, but the Rangers were ahead on it for years and years. Like, I mean, I've been seeing it with them as a baseball fan for a while now. So that's cool to kind of pick someone's brain about that at least knows a little more than I do. So now I want to get into what international baseball is like. As you know, growing up, obviously I know baseball's still huge in Canada, and you're right on the border of America. So a lot of times you guys also could play in tournaments here, and a lot of Canadians. I see a lot of perfect game stuff with people crossing the borders, and you know, baseball's huge in North America. But is there a difference that you noticed growing up, you know, from Toronto and in Ontario compared to anything here?
Yeah, so I played travel baseball. So we have a league in Ontario with a bunch of really good players and that are all trying to go play in the US at college. So it's a really good it was a really good experience. In the summer we'd go play tournaments throughout the states, all different places. The main thing is just the size of the players, I think. I think when I got to JUCO, I realized like how much bigger the guys in the US are and how far behind we were in terms of lifting and
Hmm.
that part of the game. At least we didn't have any like lifting really in high school or anything. It was more just sports and and then travel baseball. So for me,
Yeah.
at least. So I was kind of new to lifting once I got there, and I was a little bit behind.
Yeah, and I think I think that approach specifically the you know play more sports and I think that approach is also now becoming a little more popular here just because you see all these extremely well-rounded athletes and you know you have to have those skill sets. You know, every sport gives you a skill set, whoa, that you could use in baseball, you know, even football give you better hands and you could track the ball better maybe for an outfielder. And it goes on. So do you think that maybe that's even a better approach that you guys take in Canada, you know, or just also now that it's being adapted here, do you think that maybe that was the approach that should have been taken all along?
I definitely do think it's a good approach. I think it's really important to play all different sports because yeah, like you said, teaches you all different kinds of skills and also teaches you how to be a good teammate, which is really important as you go
Yeah.
throughout the years. You kind of remember more the players on your team that were good teammates rather than their skill, which is kind of a cool thing and it's something to take pride in. I know especially in professional baseball too. It's like if you're a really good teammate, a good person, you can stick around for a long time too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I do think it can teach you all kinds of things. I mean, I played hockey uh, growing up. That was kind of my main sport, and then I also played basketball, football, swam, like all kinds of things growing up. So I think it was huge for development, just makes you a better athlete, which is what professional baseball wants.
Yeah. And I see, you know, you see it more and more often. I think one of the more interesting ones, you know, you see Mookie Betts is probably the one of the best all around athletes, and then you know add his skill set in bowling, even get that in the game. You got Bo Bichette as well. He's playing. He's a good tennis player. He's also Canadian. There we go. Um, but now I'll get into some of the rapid fire questions because this is like everyone's favorite segment. So we'll start off here. Who's the best player that you have played with?
It's a tough question. Um, I'll give. I can't choose one, but I'll say Wyatt Langford, Evan Carter, and Thomas Sajaci are the three that come to mind right away.
Yeah, those are that's a really good three. Um, and yeah, I mean, I could see all three of them being perennial all stars. So
Yeah, they all do different things really well, but it's mind blowing when you see them. But I know, and all great people too, which is cool.
yeah, of course. I mean, up close, I think the first time I ever saw an Evan Carter up close batting practice video was I think the first BP he took at Globe Life.
Hmm.
I saw the videos and he was effortlessly hitting tanks into
Yeah,
like dead center. And I'm like, all right, well, I knew this kid was good. And, knowing baseball, I knew he was obviously before. I watched him through the World Series, watched him in college, was great. Did not know how well that was going to translate, how seamlessly it was going to be. And yeah, that makes complete sense that he's one of those names that you listed there. So now we'll go to the next question. Who's the hardest pitcher that you might have had to face? Or maybe stylistic wise, it doesn't even have to be the best pitcher, just like your toughest matchup.
oh, that's a good question too. Um, I'm trying to think of someone in the fall league I faced that was really good.
Mhm.
Uh, there was this guy for the Dodgers, Ronan Kopp, I think his name was.
Oh, yeah.
Big, really big lefty, threw like 100. That's that's not a comfortable at bat at all. So I faced him twice, and yeah, that was not too. They were not fun at bats, and he's crazy talented.
He is gross. He's really young. I think he's only 19 or 20 now, too.
Yeah,
He's
that's crazy.
disgusting.
He's gonna be special, I think.
Yeah, the Dodgers have a good one and run, and I've also been trying to work with him, and I haven't had success yet. That's a yeah. He's very, very talented. I saw stuff. I think the first time I ever saw any video of him was actually with King of JUCO and Trevor Bauer in the facility, and
Oh, really?
instantly I saw it and I went to his profile and I saw he was a Dodgers pitcher and I was disgusted because the Dodgers got another stud.
Yeah, yeah.
As as a Yankee fan, as a New Yorker, that one hurts.
For sure.
But unbiased. At least I pretend that I am.
At least you
Um,
can admit it.
you got it. Yes. All right. So so
Yeah.
that would be my last question. So since free agency has started and people are starting to sign, what are your three dream signings for the Texas Rangers? Maybe it could be three players that you just want to play with. It could be veterans that you grew up watching, or it could just be some of your favorite players. But if you got to pick three players that the Rangers could sign right now, who would you pick?
Oh, that's tough. Probably Otani. I mean, who wouldn't want to have him on the team?
Mm-hmm.
So that's definitely number one. Um, and then as far as the rest, I've seen a lot of people say Josh Hader to the Rangers, so that'd be cool. Yeah,
I like
he'd
it.
yeah, he'd help out a lot. But those are probably two. I don't know who, and I don't know anyone else, but those are two that I think would be really cool.
I mean, yeah, Otani would. If you guys got Otani, I would say I think the Rangers would be favorites to win the World Series for the next 10 years.
Yeah, I mean that'd be awesome.
That's amazing. And Josh Hader, I think that's a very realistic Texas Rangers move, especially, depending on what happens with Aroldis Chapman if he stays. So if he stays, if he goes, Josh Hader would be a perfect replacement if he does, in fact, sign with a different team. I
Yeah,
think
who knows?
I think the
Maybe
Rangers have potential
yeah.
to be so scary.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
for sure. I think that's the goal is to be I know they're pumped about the World Series, but I think they want to be in it every single year, so it's cool.
so before I kind of start signing off, do you have any stories, any player stories, anything that, eh, unheard tidbits that we could talk about here?
Um That's tough. I don't have any that come to mind right away. I'm sorry. And if I had something cool, I definitely would. But
All good. All good. I know. Sometimes people have some, and oftentimes, on the spot, it's hard to think of them. I completely get it. One time,
yeah,
one time I got Alex Rodriguez and Ken Griffey one. So like, you never know. I gotta ask the question every
yeah.
time and see what happens.
No,
But
you're good, man.
so we'll sign off. But do you have before we leave any last words, any advice to anyone watching? I always end it with this. So feel free to take the floor. Anything you have to say to anybody watching.
Just if you're a young player, just keep working as hard as you can. I mean,
Mhm.
I thought back in the day, I thought I worked hard, and then you go each level you go, you realize there are people that work way harder than you. So you need to be doing. If you think you're doing a lot, you need to be doing even more because there's going to be people that are working even harder than you and that are a lot more talented. There might be people that are a lot more talented than you. So you definitely need to make that up with your work ethic.
Perfectly said. It's great advice for the young people watching. So, with that being said, we'll definitely try and get you back on, maybe in person, see if I'm out. And, once you make it to Texas, I'll make it out there this summer for the All-Star game. I'll be there. Maybe hopefully you're up by then and we could maybe do something in Texas. That'll be sick. But thank you so much, Liam, for coming on. It was a pleasure talking to you. And everybody go check Liam out. We'll see him hopefully in the big soon. And always would be great to have you back on in the future. Would be an honor.
For sure, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Anytime. Thank you so much, guys. Be sure to follow, subscribe, comment, and I'll link Liam's Instagram down in the bio. Make sure you guys go check that one out too.